And welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. It's time for Opinion Court. Please do get in touch with us. 22422 is our SMS line. And if you're online at Citizen TV Kenya or at Ann Kiguta, that's Ann with an E, please use the hashtag Opinion Court as one word. It will help us to track your conversation. I will reintroduce my guests to you. And our trio of topics this evening, to my immediate right, is Mbita MP, Millie Odhiambo. Next to her is Edward Kisiangani, our resident political analyst. And next to me is Isaac Mora, who decamped from ODM to Jubilee and is in this election planning to run for the Roiro parliamentary seat on a Jubilee ticket. Yes. All right, and you're all welcome to the program. So as I mentioned earlier, we're looking at the big stories that have shaped the last 7 days, and we begin with President Kenyatta's statement in Kisii yesterday. The opposition chief Raila Odinga was to blame for the 2007 post-election violence. Raila fired back, however, saying that if the president wanted to know who was behind the violence, he only needed to look at those around him and in the mirror. And of course, that was a veiled statement making reference to the Deputy President, William Ruto. So I will start with you, Prof. Why do you think the President is resurrecting, if you like, the ghosts of the 2007 violence?
He hopes to persuade people, especially the voters, that don't elect Raila Odinga because he's a violent person. So he hopes to reap heavily from that and divert the neutrals and some of the voters that are already in Raila's camp to his side. But thinking about 2007, I think whoever advised the president to resurrect that topic didn't help him. It was a reckless talk from the head of state. He shouldn't talk about that. People have made judgments about 2007. A lot of people died, others were misplaced, and everybody has an idea or a story to tell. But now that we have overcome that chapter, by the president resurrecting it, it's like now he is trying to sweep out, removing corpses from the ground, and then we start identifying who killed the so-and-so and whose bones these ones are. So I don't think it helps Jubilee. It only makes people go back in self-reflection to say, surely, is it Raila Odinga who caused the violence? And even the people around him, even the answer from Raila was even not fulfilling. It was even worse. Now, for him to say, you look around, who is around you, if indeed he's talking about the deputy president was in Raila's team. So is he saying some of the members of his own group also caused the violence? Essentially what the president is saying is that he's giving evidence on who caused the post-election violence, and he should go to The Hague and give this kind of evidence. And he should have given it a long time ago by saying it's Raila Odinga who caused it, because the International Criminal Court has already ventilated over this matter. People are quick to say, I didn't do I didn't cause the violence, but so and so caused. So if the president has this kind of information, why is he not giving it? Now, on the other hand, Raila Odinga also, if he knows that the people around the president are the ones who caused the violence, why has he not given evidence to the International Criminal Court or any court of law within the country? So in both ways, the two leaders are out of order, and I declare them out of order. I tell them, order, Mr. President, order, Mr. Raila Odinga. We are fed up with this kind of talk.
Millie?
Well, what I can say about that is that the reality is that Kenyans are extremely poor. Kenyans are extremely disillusioned. Kenyans are extremely hungry, not angry, hungry. And hunger knows no tribe. When you don't get, your business doesn't work, it doesn't matter whether you are a Kikuyu, you are a Luo, you are a Kisii. Things are just not going right in this country. Now, what the president is trying to do is that he successfully whipped emotions around the issue of ICC in the last elections. It's not working because people are hungry. People are not feeling development. People are not feeling money trickling to them. People are hungry. That's the bottom line. Literally. And because of that, there is apathy. People are not interested in going for elections. Very few people are. Majority are not. So the president is hoping that he can whip up emotions around an issue so that you come here with my brother and start fighting about ICC, when I know my friends who are Kikuyus who died. All of us saw people who are killed in Eldoret, who are burnt inside a church. People know people who are displaced in the Rift Valley. When you go to Kisii and talk to Kisiis about who killed or who didn't kill, and they know, people know who killed them. I think it is very unfair on Kenyans. It's like dancing over the graves of victims. There are people who are not compensated today. Some of us went and dealt with those issues personally. I was in a select committee on internally displaced persons. And I remember when I was sharing in the last parliament, I shed a tear when I had just come back from Kisii, when I saw women who had nowhere to go. I think it's unfair as a country, whether it's for purposes of power, for us to be dancing over the graves of people who went through traumatizing events. Let ICC lie. Let the president look for another thing to galvanize his support base. But ICC, extremely unfortunate. It should go that direction.
Maura, was this just a bit to strengthen a base that some say is apathetic in this election? And in your estimation, was it a responsible statement?
I think, first and foremost, I want to differ with my dear elder sister, Millie, about the issue of development. Because if you look at the track record of development, you will find a very nice bridge that has been built from her vicinity, that is helping to connect people there. And I think that's one of the pledges, or rather key milestones, that the Jubilee administration has done across the political divide, across the country, as a government in power. And also the issue around the president speaking now. People must look at Uhuru Kenyatta as the candidate then and the President of the Republic. And we've just gotten a report from the National Security Council, which is chaired by the President himself, about politicians, coming up with gangs. And I think some of them have been enumerated, ready to cause havoc, ready to cause chaos in the forthcoming general elections. And so as the President of the Republic, he has every right to say that this has happened before, that maybe some people are actually responsible, so that then the country does not just go down the same way. Because the people who are responsible in creating chaos during elections are politicians, particularly to protect or to have an edge over their competitors. And so therefore for him to speak, really his aim is to alert the country that we need to go through a peaceful and fair. And this is a report that has not been generated because of political reasons. It's just the temperatures. I mean, it's coming from the security apparatus, and look at where he said it. But
that's not what he was talking about. He laid blame squarely on Raila Odinga for the violence of 2007. And let me pose Prof's point to you as a question. If then he knows for sure that Raila was responsible for it, why has he not given testimony or evidence of the same to a court of law, where such an issue can be determined?
I think first and foremost, he spoke it in Kisii. He was not in his support base, traditional, whether Rift Valley or now the coast, which is being decoded, or central. He was speaking in Kisii. And so therefore he is speaking as the President of the Republic of Kenya. And also to add to that, the issue, if you look at the response of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, if he is trying to blame his erstwhile deputy party leader, then how do you then get that?
You see,
how do you get that, Isaac? And so therefore, I would want to say that when the president was speaking, he's just trying to alert the country that we must not go the road of 2007.
Isaac, we have missed a point. You know, the president is not a Kisii president. He's a president of the Republic. He's opening certain wounds in a particular way. And as Miller said, these wounds have started healing, and we don't want to go that way. If you look at 2007, and you go back and look at details, and at that time, Maura, you were actually in Raila's camp. And I'm sure you made certain statements which show that you probably had sympathy for the Raila camp, as opposed to the Kibaki camp. Everybody had an idea of what they thought caused the post-election violence, but we have navigated through that. There has been an international court process, which we have also gone over. Now, when the president renews that, and then said, 41 against 1, even that statement alone is not supposed to be made by the president. The president is supposed to preach unity. If he's asking for votes from Kisii, he doesn't have to say. It was even not his duty to explain who caused the election violence in 2007. There are several groups that have worked on that, including the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, looking at who caused that, the Curricular Commission, which said they didn't know who won the elections. There are people who died, there are people who are displaced. You know, they start thinking and crying over the past. What we need in this country is some kind of healing and moving forward. The president does not need 207 to win the election. And I think you now are in his camp. Tell him.
Or does he?
Or he doesn't. To win the election by talking about 2007. If indeed Raila Odinga caused the election violence in 2007, we as voters, we know how to fix that. And it's us to judge. But for the president, he should come and say, I took power in 2013, I've done ABCD, and I need to be re-elected. But to use Raila Odinga as a basis so that we sympathize with the president, that this guy caused violence, so that becomes a vote for Uhuru. It doesn't become a vote for Uhuru.
And I can actually tell you, every sober, reasonable, well-minded Kenyan should actually serve the president's statement utmost contempt card. That is something Kenyans don't need at all, at all. We don't need to be divided along ethnic lines at this point. If you look at the cases that we are seeing in the media, just today you have seen supporters of Sonko fighting with supporters of PK, others are fighting in Waraka and all that. A sober leader should be seeking to unify people and calm temperatures, not to fan violence. Actually, if he was an ordinary citizen, he would already be charged with under the National Cohesion and Integration Act. I've always had people say that people get scot-free when they under the National Cohesion because we never link the ethnic issue. The president did a perfect job of violating the law. And I think I want to tell Mr. President, you don't have to seek presidency at all costs, not at the cost of the peace of Kenyans, not at the cost of the lives of Kenyans. Look for ways of seeking for votes. Like, for instance, you've had my brother Isaac is saying now Jubilee wants to piggy ride on a bridge in Mbita. Try piggy riding and try launching everything, including launching the Chief Justice in Kisii. That we can excuse you for. But we cannot excuse you for trying to create violence in this country. That we will not allow. So if the president wants to launch the Chief Justice in Kisii, that's fine. If you want to come and launch a bridge in Mbita whose money has been stolen, so the bridge has stalled, it's not finished, because we already had a causeway. All we are doing is to build a bridge. So if you want to come and launch a project whose money has been stolen by the national government, we might excuse you for that, but we cannot excuse you.
But
playing with the lives of Kenyans. No way. We cannot allow
I think
that.
we must also be honest with each other. Because listening to Millie here, you may think that now Jubilee is you know, spoiling for violence.
Yes, you are.
But then the truth of the matter, who is the person who calls for mass action? Who are the people who go to the streets? The president is not calling for violence. In any case, he is the president of the Republic of Kenya. The president is simply alerting that if you look at the chronology of events, looking at the NSC report, there is cause to worry that if then we do not pinpoint how it happened last time, it's not a question of saying that now we are preparing for war. It's basically saying we need to take caution. And let me say this. But
you can say that. Hold on just a minute. But you can say that by saying precisely that. Let us be cautious.
Let us be cautious.
Now, that is something very different.
No, but when you know where the problem is likely to arise, what is wrong with pointing it? And also, let me say this. To say that this what happened and so therefore the president wants to whip up emotions is totally untrue. I have been to central Kenya, and people are more than willing to give the president his term, so he doesn't have to stock up emotions. If you look at the track record of the Jubilee government, in terms of the project that was done. And I think I would want to challenge my dear sister Millie to prove where money has been stolen. Because when you have seen a project, it's very easy to attack and say, oh, now this money has been stolen, but without any evidence. The truth of the matter is that the Jubilee government has done so much in terms of the development record that actually the national society is ashamed that the only thing they can spew around is corruption.
But I want to pick up, Prof. I want to pick up on something Millie had said, Millie, because I don't want us to lose it. And you had mentioned the chaos that marred Jubilee parties meet today on, voting in the electoral board officials for Nairobi. What say you about that? Because perhaps this is the first time we're seeing real chaos in their camp, which they have actually always associated with ODM.
I don't think it is the first time we are seeing. It's just that Jubilee is good at propagating. They are good at the blame game. And because we are quiet doesn't mean they don't do it. Just the other day in the Goreti North, guns were drawn. I was looking at it, I thought it was a Niger movie.
Right.
So that happens.
Right.
And I want to tell you, I condemn violence, whether it's on our side or the Jubilee side. And what I'm saying is, if you have a serious leader, especially if you are occupying the presidency, especially at a time as this, you need to push your agenda without being the one lighting fires all over. You go to Turkana, abuse the Turkana. Go to Kisses, tell them, oh, you didn't vote for me. I mean, what kind of vote searching is that? And telling people about post-election violence, using Marwa to go and create chaos in Mombasa, then you say you are decoding. You are decoding by creating violence.
No.
I think the president is way off the mark.
You see,
he needs to get back to the path of sanity. Yes, when you are dealing with human rights issues, I take it. This is human rights.
Purely politics, and
human rights is very political. Human rights is very political.
Let me ask you
human rights is political.
Do you have a personal grudge with the president?
Exactly. Personal grudge,
right? In relation to, you can differ, as he's saying, on policy issues, on the way the country is being run, etc. But there can come a time when things get personal. Do you think
right now I have not spoken about anything personal. I am not the one who told the president to go to Kisii and speak things which are negative, which are dividing the country. And if he divides things which are in the country, I cannot be intimidated from talking about it by telling me I'm personal against the president. I cannot be personal against the president. He was, unlike him, the president was my colleague in the last parliament. I sat with him in the Parliamentary Select Committee. So he may be a president to you. Yes, he's a president, but he was also my colleague.
But
so what I can tell you, I will call black.
Let me ask you, Millie.
And the president is way off the mark. And he should be treated the context.
Millie, why don't you listen to me? Let me ask you, Millie. I think you can respond to this. For the purposes of our viewers, what they look at. Let me ask you. The response from the president made some remarks which I have said I didn't like, but the response was also not good. So we cannot. We are looking at national leaders. What has happened in Bomas, I think, regarding Songo against supporters against Peter Kenneth's supporters, is deplorable, and I don't like it. But it is a rebirth of the men in black in Kasarani some 1.5 years or 2 years ago, when the ODM was going for an election, and it was disrupted almost in a similar way where Isaac Ruto was, and he probably is one of the principal actors in the Men in Black saga in Kasarani.
Isaac Ruto was not.
I mean, not Isaac Ruto, but Isaac Mwaura.
This one was actually
Isaac Mwaura.
My apologies about I said Isaac Mwaura, not Isaac.
Thanks for letting us know he's moved with them.
Yes, but let me make my point. Isaac, wait. You see, the crisis can rightly do so. The crisis.
Let him finish.
After giving you those two examples. Don't you see that the crisis in this country is much more beyond what Uhuru is or Raila is? That the more you think about differences between Jubilee and Accord, the more you see no differences. So the crisis we have as we go towards August 8th election is that there is totally no... If you vote for Jubilee, you are voting for CORD or NASA. If you vote for NASA, you are also voting...
It's the same thing.
Because what you have seen, the men in black have now been created in Jubilee. Then you have seen Raila Odinga's other.
I don't quite agree. I do not agree with you.
There is no difference between Jubilee.
I don't agree.
Jubilee and the CORD are the same.
I do not agree.
To disagree. Because in any case, by the way, are we dealing with CORD or are we dealing with NASA? The greatest hate of dishonesty emanates from the fact that you can have agreements with individuals which you cannot keep. The greatest hate of dishonesty is to say that the national government is corrupt when you're actually benefiting from county government corruption.
But are you not reinforcing the point that Prof is making, that it's all the same, whether you're propagating or receiving
it's not the same. It's not the same because
Mm-hmm.
the Jubilee administration has a very clear-cut track record of development. If you look at even the cabinet of this country, it is highly constituted of Kenyans of all walks of life. I mean, all types. But then, you go ahead and you create a propaganda, and you say now it is two communities or whatever. But when you look at even the principles, some of those people, all of them are from one ethnic community. The point I'm trying to say is this. When you have failed to marshal enough votes and support, when your house is crumbling, when people are defecting, and you are realizing there's nothing else that you can talk about, then anything that you see the president saying, you now go, you keyhole in there, and you say the president wants violence. Who would want more peace?
Isaac, look at my fingers.
No,
look at my fingers.
Let me respond to Prof. why I'm disagreeing.
Yes.
That Jubilee cannot be the same with NASA. But first of all, I'd want to say that it is such a tragedy for my good brother Isaac to be speaking on a platform integrity when he's sitting on our nominated seat. If you are a person of integrity, you should have resigned first. No, you should have resigned first on a matter of integrity. No, you should have resigned first on a matter of integrity.
I even know that told
and I want to tell you, give me my opportunity. You had your chance, because you can't beat me at heckling. But when we want to discuss soberly,
we must talk.
Yes, if you want to talk soberly,
let her make a point.
You can't beat me on that.
Let her make a point.
If you want us to talk soberly, I am excellent. You want us to heckle, I am excellent. So choose.
No, I'm not a heckler.
No, well, we're certainly not going to heckle on this program.
So that's why I'm telling you, let me talk, because when you had your day, I gave you your day.
Go ahead, Millie.
And what I'm telling you why Jubilee cannot be the same. Everything is ultimately about leadership. We cannot have 10 presidents at the same time. There's one president at a time. The person occupying that seat right now is unfortunately Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And he is the one who must enhance national unity and integration. And unfortunately, he's the one dismantling it. I have not told you that Men in Black was a good thing. It was a bad thing.
Yes.
Where when you see bad, you name it bad, wherever it's found. But when you have a presidential leader, I mean a leader who is a president, he should be able to say this is wrong and bring cohesion. But if you are the one who is talking fire,
definitely
you should resign.
Okay, we must move on. Isaac, you're now both out of order. We must move on to the next topic and shift gears to the issue of NASA. We've seen a lot of confusion, some would say, in the NASA camp, at least over the past week, with the rhetoric from Kalonzo Musyoka, with Musalia Mudavadi saying he was not invited to a key meeting that took place on Tuesday, with Raila having to cancel his Mombasa meeting with varied reports and reasons as to why that happened. Nonetheless, we understand a critical meeting will take place tomorrow, and sources have intimated that on the 10th of April at Uhuru Park, NASA will be able to unveil its flag bearer. Quick question to you all: who do you think it will be? Prof.
From the way things are looking, the most likely candidate is going to be Raila Odinga. But even because I think the stage has been set. He has been more prominent, and he has a backup of a lot of people from his community who think they have that entitlement to it, and then they talk about the numbers they control. So he has always shown that he probably is ahead of the pack in terms of mobilizing the voters towards his side. So if we talk about the numbers he has been mobilizing, he looks like the most likely candidate, and I have no problem with that. But where I have a problem, and it speaks from the discussion that the issue that we have just discussed a while ago, is the fact that whichever way you look at it, the thing at play in NASA is ethnic chauvinism. And this ethnic chauvinism is driven by the fact that every group that is coming there is trying to campaign for their own, rather than the value system that the party will represent. Each one, you have seen, you heard Nyense say, the Kamba nation is saying they want their own. The reason why a lot of people within the Raila's camp are saying we want Raila, most of them are Luo. And they are saying we want our own. They are looking at Raila not as a leader who can represent our value systems, the values in Chapter 10, Article 10 of the Constitution, but as their own. Now, when you go to Western, you will see people saying, we want Musalia. They are talking about their own. So, in the end, you see these political parties, they all admire ethnicity. They all admire corruption. But they are completely short, whether you are talking about Jubilee or CORD, they are short on the values that can make Kenya one. So in the end, therefore, Raila Odinga is likely to be the presidential candidate, whichever way they look at it, and probably there could be a walkout. Let
me rephrase the question to you, Millie, even as I ask you who you think they will announce at Uhuru Park. Is it time that all the other NASA principals admit what we all silently know, that there's only one amongst them who is, if you like, the head of equals and can marshal a national vote, and has proven that from a previous election, and that is Raila Odinga?
What I can tell you is that NASA and the leadership is negotiating. And I think saying so and so or who and who is jumping the gun. And I think, for instance, when Jubilee decides who they want to choose, we were not invited to their party. Neither did we participate.
And neither are you inviting us now.
Neither are we invited.
Yeah, but that's discomfort.
No. Let me. Can I just? But I am glad that that he is admitting that we are causing them discomfort. That means that we are very keen on us. It's a good thing. So what I want to tell you is that, for us to reach that process, it will be consensus building, it will be discussions, and I can tell you, for those who have had children, the period between the labor pangs, if you find a woman who is about to give birth to a baby, you'll think that's the most horrible thing. But there must be labor pangs, there'll be kicking and gnawing of teeth before the baby. So what you are seeing in NASA is basically the kicking and gnawing of teeth before we get the baby. As to whether we get there, all the principals are very qualified. Each of them comes with a very rich history. Maybe one comes with a different history, like, for instance, you have specifically mentioned Raila. Raila comes with a rich history of democracy, of fighting for human rights, on fighting on the platform against corruption and governance issues. So yes, if people were to choose him on that basis, I disagree with you. It will not be because of ethnicity. It would be because of that.
Can you rule it out?
All right. No, let's go to Isaac. Having worked in ODM in particular, and knowing what you know of the larger opposition movement, is there only one person who can bring an end to the back and forth as to who should be the presidential candidate, and again that person being Raila, to say either I'm going to endorse somebody, or he himself going out there and declaring, you know what, I'm going to run?
I think we have been at it before. The good thing is that CORD or NASA or its leadership has really run out of ideas. We've been here before in 2007. It was very successful in 2002. In 2013, they tried to play it. It didn't work very well. And now it's even at a worse position. Because if you look at even the ethnic mosaic of the leadership of the so-called NASA, which I don't think it exists, is basically two ethnic communities, then another one and another one. It's very clear. You know, Pentagon was more representative, because I was there then. And many people were there. In fact, people tend to forget that when ODM was started, even the president himself was there. You know, it was started that way. What we are seeing is a situation of, Millie is talking about we are just waiting to get a baby. We know already the baby. The baby has been born. The baby is Raila Odinga. And this is a baby that people want to worship because they follow the mirage that this is an individual who can bring change, that is messianic. And for me, after 10 years, I realized it's a big lie. There's nothing about human rights and democracy. It's just political posturing. In fact, let me say this. The greatest betrayal of the people of this republic is to work so close with third leadership only to realize that it is not possible. Look at it this way. You have individuals who are being hoodwinked that there is a fighting chance when there is no chance at all. And a very good example is somebody who has been a loyal deputy called Kalonzo Musyoka, who is being reminded that there was no agreement between them that Raila would be a one-term president, and so therefore Orengo, who is representing Raila in that committee, and that is why Francis Nyenze has stuck to his guns, even in Parliament. Let me give you an example. The leader of the minority is Francis Nyenze, but the de facto leader of the National Assembly is what Jacob Midiwo.
So if reports are in fact true that April 10th will be D-Day, you are certain the name will be Raila Odinga?
It will be Raila Odinga, it will be Raila Odinga. And let me tell you,
why is Raila Odinga giving you stomach
ulcers? It is true, because
if you think it is useless,
let me answer.
Why are you having sleepless nights?
In fact,
why have you having sleepless nights, my brother?
Maybe you are not a doctor, so you don't know whether he has ulcers. You don't know.
Let's leave it there. Let's leave it there. No. We must leave it there because we must leave it there. We must leave it there. I'm going to have to wind it up. Millie, if you don't come to order, I will have to wind it up. But not before we discuss something that your side of the table is very passionate about, and this is the fact that IEBC yesterday cancelled the tender for the Integrated Elections Management System. The opposition today has said that is the setup of a stage to rig the election by forcing the use of a manual system. Prof, is there cause to worry that one, electoral timelines will not be met, that two, we may not be able to get back to an election, rather an electoral election management system?
The first thing I want to say is this. The Electoral Commission is an independent organ created by the Constitution. If they have any problems with regards to the elections, preparation of the elections, it is up to them to tell us they have a problem with the elections. It is not our duty to tell them you are not prepared when they keep on assuring us they are prepared.
Really?
Yes, because if they have that duty, you know, they are already giving evidence against themselves. If in August we see these manual things working again and being manipulated, the third hour of voting, we see that all the electronic media, gadgets have failed. I'm now talking to the bosses at the Electoral Commission, whether it is Chebukati, whether it is Ezra Chiloba, you will pay a heavy fine to the Republic, because the Republic will not forgive you. For now, and we have to trust their word, because they have been given the resources. They are not complaining about resources.
Actually, they're saying the reason they had to cancel this particular tender, one of the reasons was resource.
But then
before, when the first, I think, interim budget or estimates or something like that was given, they again complained that this was not.
No, but they have also assured us that they were trying to make prudent use of public resources, because this company seemed to have prices which are not acceptable. But they said they have an alternative with the resources they have to run the election in a fair and a transparent manner. So for me, I would like to trust the people at the IEBC to do the good job. They know the anger that will arise out of a rigged election, out of a system that cannot be trusted.
Okay.
So we have to give everybody a chance to mess themselves up. If they are planning to mess themselves up, we shall even mess them more. They have no duty to occupy office and salaries from the public and then end up with a bad election, because a bad election gives bad signs internationally for the Republic. Right. So for me, my position is very clear, and I have no doubt if they had said now with this cancellation we are in trouble, then it will even be the responsibility of Parliament now to call an urgent meeting and discuss how best to save the situation. Okay. But the fact that these guys have not said anything, let us trust them on their word.
All right, briefly, Millie, we're out of time.
Well, I can tell you that I would really love to put as much faith as he has. I don't have any reason, to cast aspersions on the Commission. But for me, from where I sit, I think they're being a little too naive. I think if you look at the timelines, even the statutory timelines, they are doing very badly. We've just gone through registration of voters. We still have to go through auditing of the registers. We have to go through verification. You know, they have to, you know, do the tendering process, you know, get the integrated system. By the time you do that and you actually work on it's just that we don't have the time. But if you had worked out the timelines for you, they are not sitting pretty.
Right.
And for me, my cause of concern is that we don't want to go to elections when we are in a state of a lack of preparedness, because that's actually what creates a lot of tension and creates a lot of you know, problems during electoral process. And for me, I think they need to take their work a little bit more seriously, and where there's a challenge, they need to be honest and say there's a challenge here.
All right, briefly more, we're out of time.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I think we must be honest with each other. How did we end up here with timelines that are so tight with their straitjacket? It's because some people went to the streets to demand that we have new IEBC commissioners. Let's not lie to Kenyans. Why? Because then you only thrive in chaos. You precipitate a crisis. You go to the court to even some very administrative issues like who is going to print the ballot papers, because you are reading ballots. But it's not just reading ballots, because you feel you're not prepared. And when you listen very carefully, and I think it was on record, there are people who would want a situation where if they do not get power, then they actually share power. So Kriegler had said in the recommendation that you need at least 15 months to have new commissioners. How then did you demand that you have new commissioners when you know those timelines were not there?
All right, so you feel any crisis has been precipitated?
Yeah,
somebody is skimming. Somebody is skimming.
I have to
I'm for sure. So Billy is a very good agent.
So Isaac, what are you saying? How fresh you are being the president? Isaac, what are you saying?
For sure.
You are saying that you are giving excuses for a matter. I am giving evidence that it was premeditated.
No. This is becoming a shouting match. We're going to have to wind it up. You're all out of order for yelling at each other. We're going to wind it up there and be back with a business after this.
We are ready.
You are ready?